Now call to order the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission meeting for September 4th, 2024. We'd like to start with roll call, please.
Commissioner Grabowski,
Present.
Commissioner Woodard,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Shook,
Present.
Commissioner Dias,
Present.
Commissioner Michaud,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor,
Present.
Chairperson Taylor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Brown. We now have the Planning Commission's creed and the approval of the agenda read by Mr. Shook, Commissioner Shook.
The Newport News Planning Commission is mandated by state law, and its members are appointed by City Council. Section 15.2, Tac 2210 of the Code of Virginia states, in part, that every locality shall create a planning commission in order to promote the orderly development of the locality and its environment. The statutory purpose is to improve the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the citizens, and to plan the future development of the communities. In serving this statutory purpose, the Commission invites the comments at the public hearing of its interested citizens in matters before it and welcomes your presence. Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda before us.
Second.
Is it moved and properly second? Can I have all in favor to say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is accepted. We now have the invocation by our Commissioner and Pastor.
Father, we thank you for today, and our hearts go out to the families in Georgia. It's a tragedy today, Lord, so we just lift them up, pray for those that are grieving, for their comfort, for those that are wounded, for their healing. And then we also just ask today for this gathering, for this meeting, help us to be the kind of community leaders that build a future and a city for the next generation, for the children of tomorrow. In your name, amen.
Amen. We next have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Tim. Flags are behind you. You know,
Choose your flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. Next item on the agenda is the minutes from our August 21st meeting. Commissioners, we have that was all sent out to us. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, changes, or enhancements to the hearing? None? All right. Also, our work session also was on the 21st. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? Anything anyone want to add? We're good. Seeing none, hearing none, we will do. I'll now open for a motion to accept.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the City Planning Commission minutes of August 21st, 2024, and the City Planning Commission work session minutes of August 21st, 2024, as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Again, I'll ask for all that in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposing on the minutes?
I will abstain. Since I wasn't present.
We have note one extension. All right, with that being said, the meeting minutes will be accepted and logged in for record. All right, the first item before us on the agenda is up in the public hearing. We have conditional use permit 2024 tag 006, correction, CU 2024 tag 0006. Effenheim and Lancashire Lurks. And this is in regards, this will be brought to us. I'm going to echo. So, okay, Saul Garcia. Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have application CU 2024-0006 by the Leaks, who are the owners and applicants. They are requesting a conditional use permit for the operation of a family day home child care facility B. The property is located at 613 Brandywine Drive and contains 0.27 acres. North, south, east, and west of the property, we have single-family homes on property zone R3, single-family dwelling. The adopted One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies low-density residential uses for the property. The proposed use is compatible with the land use designation. The property has been zoned R3, single-family dwelling, since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective on August 1st, 1997. The zoning ordinance permits a family day home child care facility B for up to 12 children in the R3 single-family dwelling district with the approval of a conditional use permit. Further, the zoning ordinance, section 45-522, provides several requirements for the use that include that the facility meet the state licensing requirements, that play areas be shown on a plan, that play areas are enclosed by a solid fence of up to 6 feet, that outdoor activities are conducted between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., that the site be kept free of clutter and debris. It also allows for one employee who does not permanently reside in the home. Licensing by the Virginia Department of Education to operate, meeting all licensing requirements. City departments have no objection to this request. The applicant has been operating a family day home child care facility A in their home for up to 4 children for the last 4 years as the Amazing Child Care and Learning Academy. The applicant has voluntarily been licensed by the Virginia Department of Education during that time and now seeks to expand the number of children to care from 4 to 12 children under the age of 13. This moves the child care operation into a different use category, so it's a B instead of an A. The Virginia Department of Education requires all family day home child care facilities to be licensed, meeting state requirements that include space, health, and safety, designated recreational areas, and number of caregivers per child. The home's maximum capacity is based on specific factors and designated by the Virginia Department of Education. However, the maximum number of children allowed in a family day home child care is 12. The applicant is requesting the maximum number, which is 12. Additionally, the Virginia Department of Education has a point system to determine how many caregivers are required for the operation and cannot exceed 16 points. The city zoning ordinance, as I mentioned before, limits the employees that live outside of the home to 1. Given that the plan is to serve children between the ages 2 to 5, a maximum of 24 points will be awarded for the 12 children. Hence, no more than 1 employee will be required, meeting both the zoning and licensing requirements. Quality child care has been an ongoing concern for many families, with parents preferring a family day home child care provider for their young children. However, this type of child care can create concerns for those living in the surrounding neighborhood, with noise and additional traffic being the 2 main concerns. The proposed hours of operation are between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., with drop-off between 8 and 8:30 a.m., and pick-up between 5:30 and 6 p.m. This limited time frame for drop-off and pick-up will minimize the impacts of increased traffic in the neighborhood. Additionally, the play times for children, as stated by the applicant, will be between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Restricting the outdoor play time to an hour will ensure that the noise associated with children's play is kept to a minimum. In the 4 years that the applicant has operated the family day home child care, there have been no complaints from the neighbors. The proposed use should have minimal impact on the abutting residences. The expansion will provide some working parents within the community a safe alternative for child care within proximity to their homes. In conclusion, the proposed use is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map designation. The Family Day Home Child Care Facility B is well suited to provide an increasingly needed service to the parents in the surrounding residential neighborhood. And the new use should have no more of an impact than the existing use on the surrounding neighborhood. Hence, it is recommended that Planning Commission recommends approval of conditional use permit CU 2024-0006 to allow for the operation of a family day home child care facility B at 613 Brandywine Drive with 13 conditions that include: the family day home child care facility shall comply with all applicable license requirements, standards, and regulations as administered by the Virginia Department of Education. The family day home child care facility shall not operate prior to obtaining a Virginia Department of Education license applicable to the maximum number of children for which the facility is permitted to provide childcare. State licensing for the facility must be maintained in good standing at all times while in operation. The program shall operate only within the first floor of the house. The total number of children permitted in the program shall not exceed 12 between the ages of 2 and 5-year-old. The play area shall be enclosed with a solid fence not to exceed 6 feet in height in the rear or side yard. The hours of operation of the Family Day Home Child Care Facility shall be between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Outdoor playtime shall be limited to 1 hour daily from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. The maximum number of employees that do not reside in the home shall not exceed 1. All other standard conditions also apply. All 13 conditions are detailed in the staff report and will be part of the ordinance approved by council. Are there any questions?
Yes, we have one right here.
Just one point of clarification. I don't see anything that mentions anything about signage. Is that part of the standard conditions, or is that addressed in any way?
There will be no signage.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
We can condition that there will be no signage.
So
Residential,
that's part of the
Residential.
standard condition. I just wondering, okay. That's
For
a
residential, right.
residential areas do not allow for business signs.
Okay. I just wanted for clarification.
I have a question too.
Yes, sir.
So is there a reason why we define or designate when playtimes can be and how long it can be?
It is designated by the applicant.
Okay.
That's what they are requesting.
Was engineering made aware of the emails you received from the public regarding traffic conditions?
They were, and Ms. Simpson is here to answer any questions you might have.
Where's engineering? Wow. Is it possible to get you closer, ma'am? I saw the hand go up, but didn't see you. I have a question along with that question. You can have a seat, ma'am. Have you had prior to this notice of this conditional use permit, had you received any calls in regards to traffic that you recall?
Not that I'm aware of, but I have not had the time to go through all the 311s or talk to staff, so to my knowledge, no.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself, ma'am?
My name is Lisa Simpson. I'm Chief of Transportation in the Engineering Department for the Transportation Division.
All right, thank you, Ms. I don't know where this echo is coming from. I can see one of my pastor has a problem with this.
Is it this?
No, it's
I can't
actually
tell
coming
this
out of
is
the
what
room.
it's
So
doing.
It
Just keep it a little further distance. about
comes
the way.
from me.
no, I think it's in there. But so prior to this, you have not, and when did you receive notification that there were some concerns? Today or yesterday?
Today.
Today.
Now,
Okay.
this is when the person who typically oversees site development plans in our department is out sick today.
Okay.
So what has happened in the past that I can't speak for, unfortunately.
Okay. So, all right, so I don't think it's worthwhile to drill her on the questions because she's not. I do have concerns, but I again, drove the neighborhood and I have a very large vehicle and I had concerns about the traffic and the flow. So we'll wait. We're going to table that until we get an opportunity to talk to those that can answer those questions.
I mean, I probably can. I believe this is a 36-foot wide street, which in theory should be wide enough for parking on both sides and sufficient width for two-way traffic. I understand there were some concerns with stop signs coming in and out of the entrances to this area, which is something we can absolutely look at and install. Not a problem. I think the subdivision was probably built back in the day when we used to rely on the right-of-way rule on low-volume entrances. So that is something that we can absolutely install, is stop signs at those exit points into that kind of horseshoe.
And can I suggest speed calming devices like the speed bumps because of their location?
I
There's
don't
a-
believe that Horseshoe is actually going to have the population density that we require for our traffic calming program. But that said, anybody that is residing anywhere in this neighborhood can absolutely apply for our traffic calming program, and we will take traffic counts and a speed study. And if
Okay.
they apply for the program and also have the support through a petition, then yes, we could look into some
So
traffic calming
this,
devices.
that question was for the benefit of the neighborhood. Do you hear her response? We can apply for that and see if we can get something done in reference to the speed going through that neighborhood.
Do you have to apply for stop signs, or is that something?
No, this is different.
Stop signs I will look into and we'll go ahead and get installed, but for the traffic calming program, yes. That would be a 311 phone call, and you can get to the proper folks that can help you out with that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do have one more
Yes,
question.
sir.
Um,
Commissioner Williams.
for number 4,
Hours of operation.
number 4 for hours of operation. Again, the assumption there is no weekends, that's only weekdays.
Correct.
That weekends cannot be used for daycare.
Correct.
Should we put that in there?
Question? Are you adding, you, go ahead.
I'll bring it up when we discuss.
All right.
Another
Yes,
question
sir.
too. When it says that that it's permissible in R3 single family with a conditional use permit, are there any residential zonings that wouldn't allow it even with the conditional use permit? Is there something unique about R3?
No, that's just the zone she's in, that's all.
Right, but are there, there's an R1 and an R2?
They're allowed with the CUP.
They would also be allowed with the CUP.
Correct.
And R4 too.
And there's no residential zoning that would allow it outright? They would all
No.
require a CUP?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Up to 4 is outright.
Outright, yes, thank you.
Anything above 4 would have to come before us. All right. Any other questions before I open up the public hearing? Seeing none, hearing none. I'd like to open the public hearing. I have I have about roughly 10 pieces of correspondence, some for and some in favor and some against. So what I want to do is, because it's a combination of cards of people that want to speak, I also have some emails that have been received by staff that I need to read into record. So bear with me. My plan is to do it this way. The applicant first, and let me first apologize to Ms. Leeds. When I came in, you were here and I spoke to everyone else. I made a crazy assumption that you were one of staff, and I backed away, but I apologize, ma'am. Welcome. So I will go, my plan is to go this way, the applicant first, and then those that are in opposition. And I'll read the electronics communications also prior to Ms. Leaks coming first, okay? So give me a minute, let me read this. The first one comes from Ms. Laurel Baldwin at 715 Plymouth Circle. I'm not, okay, hold on just a second.
Mr. Chairman, can I just say that it's certainly up to you if you want to read them out loud, but you don't have to. These can certainly be a part of the record. The public hearing under the state statute is allowed for people to come in and make their voices heard.
So for those that I received, I can just state that I received them?
Yes. you can just
Oh,
say you
great,
received
'cause I've
them
got-
and make them part of the
yes.
record, and,
Thank you. Thank you again, Lynn. See, Flora. Anyway, so I'm going to just state that I received correspondence from these citizens. Ms. Laura Baldwin at 715 Plymouth Circle. Patrick M. Henderson, 620 Baldwin Drive. Brandon Wine Drive. Thank you, everyone. And Glenn Waddell at 637 Village Green Parkway. And there's another I have that has no address or from whom it was sent. So that one will just go into record. It says Rick E. So Rick E is also be going in for record. So with that being said, we'll move right into, we first have the applicant, Ms. Leeks, can you please come forward? And we have this giant podium for you to stand behind. Ms. Leek is the applicant. So do we have any questions or, yes, tell her where you're from and where your address, Ms. Leeks.
Hi, I'm Lakeisha Leeks. I'm at 613 Brandywine Drive, Newport News. I am the applicant of Amazing Child Care Learning Academy. As you've heard, I've been in business for 4 years, in-home, fully licensed at the daycare. One of the reasons why I applied for the conditional use permit is because at one point in time, I had a waiting list of over 125 parents that called me consistently asking for care. And so once I found out that the city of Newport News was now allowing for more families to be accepted into a day home, I went through the process of the conditional use permit. And so, upon your decision, I hope to be able to help more families. My neighbors are here, and so I did want to just let you know that I did reach out to them and let them know there's like a 15-foot, 20-foot sign in my yard. And I let the neighbors know about the conditional use permit, and if I could, I would just like to read my response to some of their concerns. Hello neighbors, I have read the concerns about the conditional use permit from my previous post, because we have a Facebook group, and I would like to provide a statement. The public hearing date is September 4th at 2 p.m. Postcards were sent to residents by the city with location information. There is a child care shortage in Virginia and our local community. The conditional use permit will allow my child care business to care for up to 12 children. I specifically care for children ages 2 to 5 years old. My business has been licensed and in operation for 4 years, where I have cared for 4 children. The increase in capacity was supported by the numerous requests from city residents for additional child care slots, specifically in residential settings, and voted by City Council in March 2024. My hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., parent drop-off and pickup times. From what I understand, the state developed the 12-student capacity limit with the community in mind to not create significant traffic or noise in a residential setting. To address traffic, I will be following the city guidelines. I also have a section in my parent handbook that asks parents to follow the speed limits and parking requirements. If speeding or parking policies are not followed, the child can be terminated from the program. As it relates to noise, the children are permitted to go outside and play at 10 a.m., but my schedule does say 11 to 12. As it relates to the community park, I agree and will not be using the Village Green Park. We will utilize public parks on our field trip days. I hope I have addressed your concerns. My business operations will be in alignment with what's allowable by the City of Newport News, to include traffic and noise ordinances set by the City of Newport News, where I also call home, and will be followed. My right to own and operate a home child care center is already granted by the City of Newport News and the State of Virginia to provide a safe place for working parents where their children can experience a healthy and safe learning environment as they prepare for kindergarten. Lastly, the home will remain residential. The permit does not change the home into a commercial structure. I have tried to address your concerns to the best of my ability. Thank you. So that was my response to my neighbors' concerns that they put on the Facebook. So I just wanted to let you know, too, that I tried to fully address their concerns to the best of my ability.
Well, thank you. Anything else before I turn it over to
Again,
questions?
Just a point of clarification, you do have a sign, 15-foot sign.
That was,
Yes.
but it's the city sign.
The
That's
city
the
Notification.
Oh,
Notifying.
That's the notifying sign.
Or the notifying sign, okay. But you don't have any signage
No.
yourself?
No.
That's not
Saying
allowed.
that you're a daycare?
Now,
Have you ever used or gotten permission from Orchard Baptist Church to use their playground?
Orchard Baptist Church. I don't. I have a playground in my backyard. But they actually have a Boys and Girls Club in there now. They actually just started a Boys and Girls, but no, I do have a playground that the parents love in my backyard.
Okay.
yes, sir.
Ms. Leaks, first I want to say thank you for what you're doing. I do recognize that there is an increasing need for quality child care in our community, so again, I commend you on what you're doing. The question that I have is in relation to the operation schedule. If you don't mind answering, in circumstances where parents may be late to picking up their child, can you explain to us, one, how you plan to manage that situation, and two, how you plan to respond to parents who habitually fail to pick their children up at the right time?
Oh, yeah, so cutoff time is 6 p.m. There is a late fee. It is, I give them about 2 minutes, and then it's a $10 fee, and then it's $2 after that. So it's really a financial penalty for them to be late, and I have not come across many parents being late. In 4 years, I can count on one hand how many parents are late, because I do enforce the financial penalty for being late.
Thank you.
Ms. Leaks, let's go to the playground area, and and you've answered their questions and my concerns when I walked the property the other day for the second time, and the cutover that's between your yard, the house next to yours, and it actually takes you to the pool area, but I can look back. So your yard now is fenced in, and you're anticipating maybe 12 kids in there. Obviously I didn't go in your backyard, but is there enough room in your yard to support
Yes.
that space? Because from what I could see from the front, I couldn't tell, and because it looks like it's closed in.
And I don't anticipate ever getting 12 kids. I just didn't want to cut myself off. I just wanted to have that, to be able to do 6 or 8. But in regards to the backyard, yes, there is plenty of space. I think it sits on 1.27 acres, so there's a lot of space in the backyard.
Okay, because I know I talked to some of the neighbors, and they didn't have a problem. They kind of enjoyed the hearing of the little kids in the neighborhood.
They're small.
They're more concerned about the growth and what that would look like. So, are there going to be any before and after care?
No.
Okay. And what I meant by that, for those that don't know, is before school, drop off and pick up in the afternoon. None of that. Okay.
And again, just as a point of clarification, you do not plan on being open during the weekends?
No. That is my weekend. No.
Okay.
Monday through Friday.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I just have one question. I did want to say how much I appreciate your presentation, also that you are fully licensed, and that you seem to be very above board with everything that you're doing and putting it out there for everybody to know exactly where you are. The only question I had, I'm an educator myself, so I was just wondering, sometimes it rains, and I know maybe it rains in the morning and kids get kind of wound up, but with your recess time only from 11 to 12, how do you mitigate that if it's raining and they don't go out? And by 3 o'clock they're stir crazy and
Right. So I do have what I call an indoor classroom. And the licensing, they have come out and looked at it. So I have a screened-in porch. And so we're able to kind of like be outside without being outside. So in terms of if I have a bigger capacity, we would take shifts on going out there so that we could still get fresh air.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Any other questions? I want to thank you, Ms. Leak, for coming forward. I think the commission is full for the questions. Thank you so very much. Okay. Next we have, these are cards that I have that are in opposition. So what I'm going to do is going to go through the cards and allow you to come forward and state your concerns or ask your questions. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the top of the deck, and it just turns out, and please forgive me now, like my pastor said, before I screw up your last names, I'm going to roll it out now. I'm apologizing. So I'm going to go with the first name, Miss Laura. Please state your name and your address, ma'am.
All right. My name is Laura Satanovich, and I live at 625 Brandywine Drive. And I'd just like to, before I get started, say Ms. Leaks has been incredibly professional in operating her business to date. So there's no I have no issues with the daycare as it stands, and sometimes it's hard, it's emotional to speak out against a neighbor in public, and you know, it's difficult. This isn't an easy thing for any of us to do, but we do it out of concern for, you know, for the neighborhood we live in. So my husband and I have lived on Brandywine Drive since 2003. We raised 2 children here and have been very active in the neighborhood. I'm a teacher and have worked in the Newport News Public Schools in various capacities for many years. And I appreciate you all opening this to the public for us to, you know, come out and give you information as we see it, our perspective. So I recognize that our area of Newport News is changing, and I also recognize the need for daycare in the area. Ms. Leeks has transformed her lovely home into a vibrant space for children. So my concern is not with the present state of her daycare, with noise or traffic or anything that currently exists. I'm worried with the traffic and associated safety issues that will come with the expansion that's basically one step down from a commercial daycare center. I mean, that would be the next step up in my understanding. You go to 12 and then you have a full-blown commercial center. The physical layout of Brandywine Drive, and you all had the picture there, we are horseshoe shaped. So you enter the first entrance of Brandywine and you go around a horseshoe. Their home is on the second curve of the horseshoe, and then you come back out. Okay. And yes, I'm pretty sure whoever said there was 36 feet wide, that's probably true. I haven't measured the street. But the physical layout of that street and the location of the facility are not conducive to the increased traffic that will result from this expansion. The homes on this street are 4-bedroom or more and may have up to 5 cars, either now or in the future, requiring extensive use of curbside parking. The horseshoe shape, especially on the curve sections where the daycare is located, creates congested parking for residents' cars due to limited curb frontage. As vehicles drive down the street, sometimes in a hurry, maybe a little distracted to pick your kids up in a rush, they have to navigate a tight left-hand curve that is typically parked on both sides. We also have a lot of young children on that street who either live there or are watched or cared for by grandparents during the day. And they do tend to run out from between parked cars, chasing toys, running across the street to see a friend. I have a concern about that. And one thing that happened just in the past year is that a dog that got off its leash ran out between cars and was hit and killed. So it wasn't a child, thank God, but it does happen. I was a little interested in how the city was going to account for the parking and the drive-through to drop off and pick up children, because there's definitely a lack of curb frontage at 613, and I'm not sure. I did a rough measurement, and I believe that accounting for the opening of the driveway, there's less than 30 feet of curb frontage. So even though it is a 1/4 acre or larger lot, it's there's a very, very narrow space in front of her house. And then I went and measured the length of the average car on the street, which is 15 to 18 feet long. So accounting for easement, there's not really room to park 2 cars on that property. Now, I do understand that homeowners don't own the curb in front of their house. But when we have that much congestion and that much potential for homeowners to park their cars, it doesn't leave a lot of navigation and maneuvering the way that street is shaped and where that house is located. So Mr. Taylor was there last night, and maybe he could speak to this later, but it is very, very tight and blind, getting in around that curve. Let's see. The Leeks have a large driveway, but they're also going to have to account for parking an additional employee. And, having guests park in front of your house for a visit is a different thing than expecting the residents to, sort of be open and available to allowing people to use the front of their house, their parking space for drop-off and pickup. It's just very tight in there. What else did I want to say? The other thing is we don't have sidewalks in our neighborhood. There's a couple little sections right in the front that have sidewalks, but our street does not. The vast majority of the neighborhood does not. And we have a lot of people that walk regularly, walk their dogs, walk for exercise, and they are sharing the street, including that very, very tight spot. So that becomes an issue when you have the increased traffic. And 2 doors down, in the very center of the back of our horseshoe, we have an access to a public trail that runs through our neighborhood, goes to the pool, and there are a lot of kids, especially during the summertime, who shoot out of there on their bikes in between cars. They're not always easy to see coming out of there. So it's not the daycare as it stands. It's a concern for the increased usage of a very unique geography of that street. If the house were perhaps located on Village Green Parkway, which is very wide and has more area for pickup and drop off and to set up some sort of system for efficiently picking up and dropping off children, I think it would be better suited. But it's just a very congested area as it stands, and this is only going to add to it. And in the opening, you mentioned that 4 children, going to 12 is not that big of a difference, but it really is. If 4 of you are talking at once, that's a certain amount of noise, and 12 of you talking at once is much different. And I'm not really talking about noise, I'm talking about quadrupling the traffic that currently comes through there. So that's my main concern. I really applaud what she's done. I know she's an entrepreneur, a former veteran, and she's had great success with her child care services. But I really feel like the location's inability to effectively support the increased business traffic and parking, it's not appropriate for this expansion, and it will detrimentally impact the safety and current future of our residents. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Before you go to the next one.
You have a quick question?
Point of clarification with Ms. Lee.
Yes. Ms. Leaks, quick question.
If I read everything correctly, your pickup and drop off procedure to actually go into your driveway to drop off?
Do they pull in off the street to your
They
driveway?
can go into the driveway or they can use the curb.
Right.
That's what's been happening.
But they have to come into your facility to drop the young person off, right?
Yes, they have to come in, sign in, and then go back to their car and they leave. And this is the morning, so they're there 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe. They're in, signing in, saying goodbye and leaving.
Okay, that was my question.
Do they normally double park in that situation?
No,
like they
never
drive
never
up
double
and-
park.
Okay.
Never double park.
So there is normal space for somebody to come?
Yes.
Stop at the curb, drop the kids off and drop back?
Single file, yes.
Okay.
And you also, because I was out there now since I was brought up in your, Ms. Laura's statement, you have a wide driveway and not my truck. I would figure based on the wide driveway and the pullout that you have in your driveway, you could get it easily 8 cars in your driveway.
Yeah, if we wanted to, if their parents wanted to pull into the driveway, they could do that as well.
Correct. Just not 8 Ram trucks, but 8 definitely
Right,
cars.
if they wanted to, that's
Correct, so
within-
that could possibly have a situation that will help. So, all right, thank you. So
Could I
what you
ask
say, we have questions, more questions from Ms.
Could you talk a little bit about, is it a hard start? Like, does everybody show up at 8 o'clock, or is it typically staggered for drop-off and pickup?
It's staggered. Between 8, it really depends on the parent sometimes, but typically between 8 and 8:45. That's my breakfast at 8:45. I start breakfast, so if you want breakfast, you need to be here before then. And so they're coming in between, right now, they're coming in at 8 and 8:45. With the potential expansion, I'll make those drop-off times even tighter if needed be in my parent handbook. But it's staggered. I've never had an issue with the parents, being able to find parking on the side or in the driveway to come around to the sidewalk, to come to the side door, to then come into the entrance and sign in and then leave.
And,
Okay.
my only other question is, right now with your census at 4, how many of those households, the children represent how many households?
4.
So there are 4 separate
Yes.
households with children?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lee. The next one we have to speak is Mr. and Mrs. Shipman. I'm not sure if you both want to speak or... Okay, so we'll go with Ms. Shipman first. Mr. Shipman, did you stop? You got up first?
What?
Nothing.
No.
Ms. Shipman, please go. And what we're going to do is I would like to, for the sake of time, if we can limit it to 5. Thank you, Laura. And we will continue to move forward. Okay, 5 minutes, please.
Sure. My name is Deborah Shipman. I live at 625 Valley Forge Drive. We moved in the early 90s. We've been there 30 years, and the neighborhood's really changed. And I'm happy that there is daycare for 4 children. I'm not happy with the idea of 12 coming, and I guess I should say I did have 3 kids myself. We're all grown now, so I understand the need for daycare. I'm one of the people who go out in the morning walking my dog. And it can be tricky. You know, we have no sidewalks like was previously mentioned. So typically walking the dog means you're walking down the middle of the street. Cars are parked on both sides of the street. On trash days, you have trash cans and dumpsters and bulk trash. In the fall, you have large leaf piles. And as you come around the curves, it does get very narrow, and there are very many times on all the streets that there's a concern like, oh, I gotta make sure I don't get hit by a car as it comes around. And typically I'm out there walking at drop-off time. You know, I get up at 7, so anywhere between 8 and 9, earlier on holiday days. Living kind of catty corner behind the daycare, I have noticed that there is some noise. You know, graduation day, when I was out doing my dog walk, there was a big display in the front yard, which was wonderful, but it was still also this is my quiet neighborhood where I am not expecting, you know, moon bounces and balloons and chairs lined up and tents. Frequently a fire truck comes up and blasts its noise as an activity for the children.
And how often does that normally?
No.
I think,
Okay.
well, the first time or two, I didn't know what it was, so that was much more alarming. Now I know what it is, so I'm not scared that my neighbor's house is burning down. You know, but the first time or two was like,
Yeah, I think that's more the benefit for the daycare and because the
sure,
fire department is right on
and
the
that's
corner.
wonderful, but,
Yeah.
you know, again, my concern is if it goes from 4 kids to 12 kids, everything magnifies. And I would, you know, when, you know, the statement that no complaints have been lodged, I've never been asked to complain. I've never been asked my opinion, so I kind of feel that that doesn't necessarily carry much weight, because I'm not going to go complain about a small daycare, you know, in the house with few kids, but my concern is, again, the 12. And I'm not quite sure an hour outside is enough time for, you know, I wouldn't have wanted my kids to only have an hour outside or time only on a porch. You know, and my concern is I don't know when does the daycare become a preschool, because I think as much as the importance of learning is, you know, I live in a residence. I've lived here for 30 years, and I moved in, you know, to have a quiet, you know, little sanctuary in my backyard, to be able to go out and walk my dog without fear or traffic. And yeah, that's just my, I don't know what else to say. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much. Mr. Shipman. Give you the remaining half.
The remaining half, yes, the other half, the worst half. Jeff Shipman, obviously, with my wife, 625 Valley Forge Drive. I only really have 2 concerns. I'm a software engineer, I work remotely. I code. Why it's a big deal to me. I do hear the children occasionally through the wall. That's okay. If it became really, really loud, that would be a problem. The other issue I have mostly happens with Village Green Parkway and Jefferson. We have the, that gets blocked. You still have the don't block thing, but everybody doesn't do anything. Now you're adding, what, 12 trips or you would be adding possibly 8 more trips. So now you're going to block more, and it usually happens at the times that people drop off and lift off. So it's kind of, makes things kind of unwieldy to get out, and you have to wait and wait. So there's kind of a frustration. Those are my concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Shipman. Any questions for the Shipmans? Okay, the next card I have is Mr. Tyson? Tyson.
Yeah, somebody in the family tree couldn't spell, we spelled Tyson with an I, not a Y.
You know, my dog is named Tyson. I was like, well, that didn't work. Mr.
Okay,
Tyson,
well-
please tell us your name and your address, please, sir.
Yeah, I'm Eddie Tyson. I live at 678 Village Green Parkway since December 3rd of 1988. So coming up on 35 years in the neighborhood, when our kids were little, and now they're just about to turn 37 and 34 and no longer living in the neighborhood. I've been trying to listen to what everybody else said so I don't repeat, so I might be a little bit scattered here because it kind of threw my order off when other people said things I don't want to repeat for you. I'll just make, one thing I want to mention is just the very fact that a use permit is required is an indication that things like increased traffic and noise are concerns. That's why there is that requirement. It's going to change the nature of the thing. We keep talking like it's not going to, but it is, and that's why they have the requirement for a conditional use permit. Second thing I'll note is it sounded, if I may have missed, this is news to me, but it sounded like maybe just March of this year was when the ordinance was changed or the zoning was changed to even allow for this kind of an application, correct? And of course, we didn't get any notification about that coming, or if we had, I would have been here talking to y'all then, or whoever was making that law change, because this to me is really sort of parallel to what we do a lot of times with condemnation. We try to get something that's a good for the whole public, because I keep hearing there's a shortage of quality daycare. We're trying to address that need, but what we're doing is we're meeting that need at the expense of just a portion of the population, which is what happens a lot of times. I'm a commercial real estate broker, so I know a little bit about condemnation and how some of those things work. And that's really what's kind of happening here. You know, it sounds great. We'll have some more childcare, but they're not necessarily going to be next door to you. And if they are, it changes things, you know. So the idea that we're going to triple the traffic, triple the number of kids. My office in Oyster Point Business Park is right across the street from a daycare center. And so in my office, which is on the second floor, and they're a lot farther from me than a next door neighbor would be, when the kids go out to play, I hear them. And I don't expect kids to go out and play and not yell and scream. That's exactly what kids do when you turn them loose and they've been inside. Not a problem in an office environment or in a place like that. But when you go into a neighborhood, if I worked second shift and was trying to sleep during the day, it really wouldn't matter what time during the day playtime was, still might wake me up. Or if I was invalid and, you know, confined to my home, need to stay in bed and I'm trying to sleep and, you know, there's a bunch of 12 kids playing outside next door, it's going to impact my use of my house, which is zoned R3, single family. Everybody moving in that neighborhood had the expectation that it's going to be a single family neighborhood, and now we're going to have a business operating in the neighborhood that it can impact your quiet enjoyment of your house. So I think those are issues that, you know, ought to be considered. That, and again, part of this too, we think if we approve one, we're right across the street, as I said, from Oyster Point. I could ride my bike or walk to my office. We're that close. So you got lots and lots of people needing childcare right across the street. This could be something that a lot of people say, well, I want to do that too. I'm going to buy a house in Village Green and open up a daycare center. So those numbers just keep going. And it's sort of been alluded to or mentioned a couple times. We got one way in, one way out of our neighborhood. With the one traffic light, it's always been a problem. The whole block the box, which I appreciate, they put the sign up there, block the box, because we can all attest to the many times at rush hour, which are exactly pick-up and drop-off times, when you can't get out of the neighborhood because people are stopped blocking Village Green Parkway on Oyster Point Road because it's rush hour. Everybody's getting out of Oyster Point. So the traffic concerns are real, and the noise as well. And as far as just driving around the neighborhood, it's already a concern in the neighborhood, so this will just add to it. People driving too fast, and everybody's, you know, trying to wave them down and reporting them on our Facebook page. So-and-so, this green car was doing at least 40 miles an hour. You know, this just adds to the possibility of that. I don't think there's anything else that's so important. Well, I think I did mention, but I'll just reemphasize the fact that if we approve one, you know, so that's one times triple, and now if we keep adding more, this is going to be more and more traffic, and there's only still going to be that one way in and out of the neighborhood. The streets are all designed for residential traffic, not to be a business thoroughfare. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Tyson, one quick question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Were you aware this business was in place for 4 years?
No, not with this, with 4 kids. I mean, I know plenty of people in the neighborhood like keep their grandkids and things like that. So with a number that small, I wouldn't expect it to have any impact. That's what I mean. I think that's why the ordinance is in place where you requires the conditional use permit when you go from 4 up, because that's.
No, I was asked, my question was,
Oh, I'm
was you
sorry.
aware that this was already in place for 4 years?
I did not know it. No,
Okay.
I don't live on Brandywine. I live on Village Green Parkway. This one, even if you approve it, it's probably not going to affect me except possibly at the interest of the neighborhood getting in and out.
So your concern was for the neighborhood and
It's
not
for the
necessarily this?
neighborhood, right, yeah.
Roger that.
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Any questions for Mr. Tyson? Okay, none? The next card I have is Mr. Pascal Keith. Please state your name, your address, and
Okay, first, thank you. You actually pronounced my name correctly. That's
Thank
pretty,
you.
that's pretty rare, Pascal.
I'll take one.
My name is Keith Pascal. I live at 615 Brandywine. So I am actually Ms. Leake's neighbor. We actually do share a physical property line. So we're on the same side of the street.
Which side are, not to cut you off, but I did have the question. Which side are you on? If you are standing facing her house, are you to the right or to the left?
To the right.
Okay.
So on the other side of my house
Is this a walkway to
is the walkway,
beach?
right.
To the swimming pool? Okay.
Right. So the first thing, like many of my neighbors, I have no problem with the current situation. I don't have a problem with 4 kids next door. My concern is only with the increase from 4 to 12.
So
that-
we need you to speak up. We're being recorded, and I
Okay.
can't hear you, and I'm sitting in front of you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So my concern is with the increase from 4 to 12. It's not with the current situation at all. I do want to say that in the past, it has not been uncommon to see kids in our front yard. So if you go down our property line, there's an oak tree on one side, an oak tree on the other side, and kids have been running and playing in the yard, in both yards. And with four kids, 5 kids, it hasn't been a big issue to this point. But I don't think that's going to work very well going from 4 to 12. So I know that what has been proposed here is to, just not do this and go in the backyard. But I do want to point out that has happened in the past.
Okay, so just for point of clarification, they was outside the fence and along
In
the
the front
property
yard.
line, in the front yard?
Yes. You'll have to excuse me, my notes have been hacked up as we've gone through this meeting. And I do appreciate the time for everyone to, for you to sit and hear our concerns.
Right, that's.
So I am concerned about the traffic in the cul-de-sac as well. There's as people have said before, but I think it bears repeating. There's cars parked on both sides, and when you go around the cul-de-sac, it's blind, and it scares me. I slow down going through there, and I just would be concerned about how a visitor to the neighborhood might approach this. You're late for work, you have to drop off your child, and it's very congested in that area. I do want to make a point that in reality, when parents are dropping off their children, I haven't seen people pulling into the driveway. People are stopping on the curbside. And if cars line up, then cars will line up all the way around the cul-de-sac. So in reality, again, I don't think parents are pulling into the driveway to drop off children. They're just stopping in front of the homes to do so. And the last point, and all I can speak is to myself. I wanted to live in a residential neighborhood. So if I'm trying to resell resell my property, or if I'm looking in another neighborhood to buy, I would avoid a property that's been given the conditional permit to run a business like this, simply because that's not, I just don't want to live next to a business with a daycare at this level. So I think for me, resale is a concern. So again, I have no problem with misleaks. I have no problem with my neighbors. I'm concerned about the increase from 4 to 12 and the conditional zoning.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Any questions from Mr. Pesco? Yes.
I have a question, I'm sorry. Have you seen any, or have you had any problems or issues with the 4 that are coming? Have you seen any issue with parking? Have you seen any issue with drop-off? Have you seen any issue with traffic directly involving her childcare?
With 4 kids, no, I haven't seen anything that would, get under my skin to the point where I would go to complain to anyone about that.
Is there an equal concern, because there was a comment made about like graduation at her house. Is there equal concern on a normal day of normal traffic in Village Green?
With 4 kids on a
I'm talking
normal,
about just in general, with not even concerning her childcare, just a normal concern about traffic flow in Village Green.
on a normal day?
Yes.
I haven't seen, I haven't seen a big problem on a normal day, simply because people are just going to work. Some people telecommute. I think those of us that live on the cul-de-sac, we recognize that it's tight around that curve, and like I say, it's blind, and you have to be careful when you go through there.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Pesco?
Can we ask questions during the comment section? Sorry, sir, not for you. Of
okay.
planning, or is it? Are we,
Yes, we can go back and ask questions.
So-
Once I've closed the
Okay, go
public
ahead.
hearing.
Yep.
Right. So do we have, okay, we've gone through our cards. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf or in opposition to this situation? This conditional use permit that did not submit a card and want to? Seeing, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. The issue is now before the commission. If you have questions, please go forward.
Is there any ordinance that says a conditional use permit childcare facility can't exist within a certain number of feet of another one to try to mitigate the idea of the concern for 5 of them being on the same street? Okay.
I'm not aware of any, but because under subsection B of section 45-522, which is the section that this conditional use permit application has come to, because a conditional use permit is required, if you know that another use wants to come in on the street, and that's going to create more traffic, more noise concerns, you would have the opportunity through the conditional use permit process to deny that application. So the restriction really, it would be before city council, or would be up to city council and you all as a recommending body.
Okay.
But there are no distance
No.
restrictions that I'm aware of.
Okay, I have a question for Ms. Leek. In your handbook, do you state or do you discuss anything in reference to drop-off beyond the fact that where they have to go to the side to bring them in, but it's reference to parking on the street, or is that something that you can handle or add to your drop?
I do ask them to obey the speed limits when they come in. I ask them also about the noise, to turn their radios down when they are in front of the home. And then parking. So, I can add additional things to the parent handbook as needed to make sure that everyone is safe coming around the curb, making sure that they are looking, both ways. But I haven't had any parents even have an accident. I haven't had any problems with parents picking up or dropping off themselves with their children in the car either.
But you understand the concern is that now you're talking 4 people over a period of an hour to get the kids in versus potentially 12 people, 12 families having to drop their kids off in that same period of time.
Right. I do understand that, and that is definitely something that I will put in, I could put in the handbook, and then during orientation, also make that verbally clear to them that it's a concern in the neighborhood, that we make sure that we're driving as safely as possible for the neighbors, for the children. I can definitely put that in there and express that.
Roger that. Thank you, ma'am. That was, yes, while you there, ma'am. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Since you came back up, and I know you've already identified within the plan and the conditions, the operating time, right? So there's really two 30-minute windows where there's going to be a pickup, a drop-off and then a pickup. But I guess to kind of put you on the spot, maybe from my curiosity, on average, how long does it typically take for a parent to come and pick their child up or to drop their child off?
Less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
Their shoes are on, we're ready to go. They're ready to go.
Thank you.
My only question, your current census of people, are they in pretty much close proximity to where you live? In other words, is it part of the community that you're in that the children are coming from?
Some of my first clients were in my neighborhood, and they would walk sometimes over or drive over. Now I have parents, I've had parents come from everywhere. I have parents come from Williamsburg and Hampton and Newport News. So, they find me and they come. So I can't say it's just one location.
Because of the need.
Yes,
Any other questions from Ms. Lee? Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions, any more comments from the commission before I turn it over to you and open up for?
My concern is more engineering. It's not like what's going on in the neighborhood on a normal basis. If there's that much of an issue, I feel like something should have been made engineering wise.
Right.
Speed humps, stop sign. Like this should not have been what made us say, hey, we need a stop sign. We need a stop sign longer than she had a daycare.
I think we have to have a motion for it.
Yeah, so I think that is, you're exactly right, sir. That's something that's beyond this conditional use agreement. So what I'll do is now I open, if there's no questions. Yes, Ms. Lee.
Sorry.
Hold on just a minute. Now, keep in mind. Yes, ma'am. No, Ms. Laura, you would have to come back up so we can be heard. You need to come back up. So you couldn't even hear me then, right?
This is just a general question. Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that you just reopen the public hearing.
Oh, yes, right, because I did. I actually closed it.
You just have to open it again.
Okay. All right, I'll have to reopen the public hearing. So I am going to reopen the public hearing for Ms. Laura to ask her question. And then my plan is to close it after Ms. Laura answers her question and is answered, if we can. Yes,
Okay,
Ms. Laura.
thank you. Laura Satanovich, 625 Brandywine. My question is for you guys and I guess I'm not going to say the right words, but the code. So when I look this up, you had requirements for the conditional use permit for the home daycare center, which were read when we started. And then you had separate requirements for business parking that were not attached. And I question if you're going to allow neighborhood-based home businesses, are there regulations directing a certain number of spaces, a certain traffic plan? Was there any number of spaces or any traffic plan submitted with this application or taken into account when this was submitted?
Because this is still residential, this will still stay under the residential guidelines until it exceeds the number of 12. So only those guidelines that are status to now for that residential area and that house still are in place. So there's no additional, help me along if I'm wrong, planning.
Is that right?
If
So-
there's, for that, because this is not, it has not crossed over the plateau into a quote-unquote business.
So then the city or whoever determined or set these regulations determined that our street or any small residential area could absorb 12 more, 24 in a day, that could absorb that much more traffic and parking. Is that must be, am I understanding that correctly? That it was determined that that house, that street, that corner, that
No,
could absorb?
it was not determined by that house. I can tell you that. We didn't go out and look at 613 and say that house can absorb. No, that was not. The regulations and the things that was set on the premise of, from a generic side of things, from a community side, and help me if I'm swimming up the creek sideways here. So it's not particular to Miss Leek's house in that
Right.
neighborhood, no. This is the neighborhood, this could be my neighborhood, in my
Right,
cul-de-sac that I live on.
right. I just feel, and this is not speaking to this situation precisely, but any situation that comes up again,
Correct.
you know, I think that needs to be included in examining conditional use permits, is how much additional traffic, what's the parking plan when you're going to allow businesses to operate in a residential neighborhood? Because we're not designed for cars to come in and go and park and.
Well, I beg to differ. We are designed for cars. That's what a neighborhood is, for coming and going.
Not on that level, though. I
But
mean, I
no.
don't have 12 cars coming to my house on a regular basis. I couldn't.
No, you would not be able, but, yes, ma'am.
Yep. I mean.
Yes,
And I would just say,
Ms. Lee.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Chair.
the public hearing is for a time for the
Okay.
public to express their views, not
Correct.
necessarily to
Thank you.
question the public body.
All right, thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much. I will now close the public hearing again. The matter is now before the commission. All I need is,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
I move that we recommend for approval. Oh, perfect, thank you. I move that conditional use permit number CU 2024-0007 be approved with
Correction.
conditions.
It's 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah, you flipped over like I
Let me
did.
take that motion back. I move that conditional use permit CU 2024-0006 be approved with conditions as recommended by staff.
I second.
Commissioner Shook beat me to it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions or additional questions and concerns?
I just wanted to say, I totally understand noise. I've been dealing with a jackhammer outside of my house, like right outside for the past like week. And my wife also works in computers. She works from home. You know, we have to deal with that. But unfortunately, in my view, that's just life in a suburban neighborhood. There's noise during the day. If it was at night, that would be something different in my view. But as far as noise is concerned, I don't really see how that's a valid
Thank you, Tim.
concern. And parking with traffic having no real objection to it, people come and go. It's a public street,
Right.
so that's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Gabaski. Yes.
I would like to clarify a question from the audience, or an issue from the audience. As far as this coming up as a conditional use permit, as the question was that overall, do we view all the city locations for this kind of application? When we have a conditional use permit, the Departments of Engineering, Public Works, Waterworks, Fire, Police, Parks and Recreation, and Development are all involved with reviewing all these conditional use permits for that particular site. So
Correct.
that is how that gets tracked.
Right. It is done on a case-by-case basis. Yes.
So how do we get engineering involved with the concerns of the neighborhood in terms of traffic?
That is something that we would have to take up after this.
Okay.
Right? With that being, not to cut you off, sir, with
Okay.
that, Mr. Woodard.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and expressing their
Yes.
views. It's important for us to hear what everyone else has said around this situation, especially in a neighborhood. And I share some of your concerns. Whether it's one person with 12 or 4 houses right next to you with 4 each. The question is number one for me, is the owner cognizant of being a good neighbor and doing everything possible to ensure the continuity of the neighborhood? Everyone that has spoken has said that thus far in the 4 years that she has had her daycare, that she has tried, as to the best of her ability, honor and respect the neighborhood, and no one has come and said that the current situation has caused a discontinuity of their neighborhood. So then the only question is, will 12 then bring that on? And for Ms. Leaks thing, she said that she just did 12 because 12 was available. She would probably keep it to about 6 or 8. But the one thing that I can say, and everyone that everyone has spoken, is that I hear the concerns, but more importantly, she has heard the concern. And so I think she wants to be a good neighbor above all. And so because of that, I say, let's see what happens as part of being a good neighbor. Hearing the concerns, wanting the concerns addressed, but still wanting to give outstanding service to our community in a situation that is desperately needed, which is child care in our community as a whole. So with that being said, I appreciate you for hearing the concerns and rather than blowing them off, trying to make sure that you are a good neighbor through this whole process.
And I'm going to put a bow around this if I can. I'm going to echo the sentiments from Mr. Williams and the fact that the neighbors and your concerns were heard. She, and Ms. Leaks led in with her speech, her discussion with us, is how she's gone to the Facebook and looked at and reviewed your comments and concerns. She didn't have to do that, but she did because she's trying to be a good neighbor and she wants to be a good neighbor and she doesn't want to ignore your concerns. So I think my thoughts are, I may not live in the neighborhood, but I know exactly where you are. So it's not something that's going to be gone away, and we're going to be great neighbors throughout the city of Newport News. So this is going to be potentially something very well for all of us. So with that being said, I would like to close and call roll.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Michelle,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion's unanimous, 7-0.
Okay, this item will be heard by City Council. I'm sorry, this conditional use permit will be heard by City Council on September the 24th. Thank you so very much all for coming out. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
And do want to mention that City Council is the other opportunity for you to express your same concerns. And they
Or
do
more.
listen to our recording.
Correct. So they get
Because
everything.
they make the final decision.
Thank you again for coming out. All right. The next item on the agenda is CU 2024 TAC 0007 711 Brookline Road. Brick Kiln. LLC owner, and it's the Main Event Center, LLC applicant, is conditional use permit. And this will be held by, presented to us by Saul Garcia.
Hello again.
Hello.
We have application CU 2024-0007. 711 Brick Kiln LLC is the property owner. The Main Event LLC is the applicant. They are requesting a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a banquet/function hall. The property is located at 711 Brick Kiln Boulevard, Suite E2, which is 1,742 square feet suite within a 2.05 acre parcel. North and west of the property is the storage facility on property zone C2 General Commercial. And south and east are the Featherstone apartments on property zone R5 low density multiple family dwelling. The adopted One City One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies community commercial uses for the parcel, which is intended to accommodate medium to large scale service establishments typically located along major corridors that can function independent of adjoining development. The proposed banquet hall is in general conformance with the goals and strategies of the comprehensive plan. The property has been zoned C1 retail commercial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective August 1st, 1997. Between 2007 and 2014, City Council approved 3 different conditional use permits, CU 07228, CU 08251, and CU 14341 for the operation of an amusement establishment and expansions to that use in the location of the proposed new use. The permits are now void as the establishment has ceased operation for over 4 years. A banquet hall is permitted in the C1 retail commercial district with the approval of a conditional use permit. The parking requirement for a banquet function hall is 1 space per 100 square feet of total floor area. Suite E2 contains 1,742 square feet. As such, the total parking requirement for the banquet hall use is 18 spaces. The other uses in the center require a total of 27 spaces at peak hours. A shared parking agreement was established back in 2007 when council approved the conditional use permit for the 2 amusement establishments. That agreement to share all available 76 parking spaces was done when the shopping center was fully occupied with more intense uses than the ones existing today. Commenting departments have no objections to this request. The Masters Crossing Shopping Center was developed back in 2006 and contains 10 commercial suites. The site is fully developed and meets all site requirements. Currently, 5 of the 10 suites are occupied in the shopping center. Directly adjacent to Suite E2 is the Kingdom Kids Learning Center, which occupies the 4 suites on the east end of the center. To the west of the proposed use, there is a weight loss clinic. The proposed banquet hall will occupy this suite that was previously used as an amusement establishment. Although the amusement establishment required more parking than available, it was approved based on a shared parking plan, as I mentioned. And although that agreement is still valid and the new use has lesser demand for parking than the previous entertainment uses, the zoning administrator has approved an updated shared parking agreement to include the proposed banquet hall. The proposed banquet hall will provide another event space option within proximity to the Kiln Creek Golf Club and Resort. It seeks to target small to moderately sized gatherings with a total maximum capacity of 100 people. Even though a banquet hall can generate noise and increase traffic, the space is located at the middle of the shopping center and does not directly abut residential properties. Limiting the hours of operation as well as the number of people allowed for any given event will further mitigate any potential nuisances. In conclusion, the proposed use of a banquet function hall is consistent with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The proposed use will enhance the commercial vitality of the shopping center. As conditioned, the banquet function hall use is compatible with and not injurious to the surrounding properties. Hence, it is recommended that Planning Commission recommends to City Council approval of conditional use permit CU 2024-0007 for the operation of a banquet function hall at 711 Brick Kiln Boulevard, Suite E, with 12 conditions that include the total occupancy of the banquet function hall shall be limited to a maximum of 100 people. All banquet function hall events shall start not earlier than 4 p.m. and end by 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Friday, and 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. That shall include time for setup and cleanup for the event. All 12 conditions are detailed in the staff report and will be part of the ordinance approved by council. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions for Saul? Yes, sir.
Just as a point of information, in theory, can someone rent that space every Saturday from 9 to 12 and have a quote-unquote party? I appreciate that the owner says this is not a nightclub, but I'm just asking the question of the city. Is there any mitigating circumstances that would not allow that, or in theory, someone can do that? Just in general, for any type of hall as this.
You could rent it from 9 to 12, and that person renting it could have it there.
And it could be the same person week after week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If she signs a contract with him, I mean, we can't discriminate. Tell her who she can't sign a contract with.
I'm just asking the theoretical
Are you preparing to have a nightclub over there?
I'm just asking the theoretical
All
question.
right, we got business generators. Yes, in theory and in truth, yes. If I had a
In theory,
contract,
it can happen.
right? If I had a
Yes.
long-term contract with it.
Point of information.
Yes. Any other questions?
Theoretical question.
Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions for Saul? No, seeing none, hearing none, I would like to open the public hearing. The applicant, I'm assuming, I don't want to make an assumption. And Miss, can you come please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sydney Jones.
Address? Your
From
address.
the main event, I'm sorry.
Your address?
My address, my home address or my
Yes, ma'am.
business? My home address is 1230 30th Street, Newport News, Virginia.
Okay. And so the applicant is here if we have any questions for her.
How come you ain't putting nothing down the way?
Shush. That is not a question for her.
I'm just messing with it. I'm just, don't answer it. I'm
There
just,
you go again.
I'm just messing with it.
I gotta keep your
Maybe
mouth.
coming soon.
Okay. Just, no, serious question.
No. Any questions?
No, it is.
You have a serious.
I do have a
Okay.
serious question.
I can't tell when.
Right.
Let's keep going.
Are you planning for someone to be able to rent your facility that in turn can charge other people to come into their
No.
facility?
Normally we only have like baby showers, graduation parties. If it is like a party, it's like a 6-year-old. It's like more like family events. It's not necessarily like for the public and people that they don't know is coming around. So I would say for the most part, no, that I can.
Is that something you ask of the potential renters? Are they planning on charging for?
Well,
any
yeah,
event?
we ask them like, what are you renting the building for? So they will let us know like, oh, we're having a baby shower or we're having a 1-year-old birthday party or things like that.
Okay.
So yes, we do ask them exactly why they are renting the building.
Okay.
I think what Commissioner Williams is getting at is that we're concerned whether there's a nightclub coming to the neighborhood.
No, it's not a nightclub. It's really like a function hall. We had one before, but the parking was not working for us, so we had to move. And we operated for almost 2 years, and it was just strictly baby showers, birthday parties for kids, and grown 60th birthday parties, graduation ceremonies, things of that nature.
Like you keep going to that 60 number. What is wrong with that?
Because that's just I'm just remembering the
keep in
events
mind
that
what
we
you say. Keep in mind what you're looking at.
I'm sorry, I'm just remembering the events that we had in the past.
God, man.
It's a milestone year.
Any
I don't think that we're
recess?
as far as the
I need to read a
conditional
research.
permit or the zoning. I don't think that we're allowed to have like a nightclub setting anyways.
Roger that.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other additional questions for? I'm sorry, your last name, ma'am.
Jones.
Ms. Jones. Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you.
I'd like to close the public hearing, and that the matters before the commission.
Okay. Commissioner Taylor, I move that conditional use permit number CU 2024 Tech 007 be approved with conditions as recommended by staff.
0007.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Please call roll.
You want to open any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any further questions or discussions about this?
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Michelle,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Woodard,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion unanimous, 7-0.
This conditional use permit CU 2024-0007 will be heard by council on September the 24th. Okay, with that being said, the next item on the agenda, we have the executive secretary report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your next meeting, September the 18th, we have no items, but before you decide to vote whether or not you want to have that meeting, on October the 2nd, you have a conditional use permit for an electronic sign at Peninsula Catholic Church, high school, so used to saying church. Zoning text amendments, one is for parking requirements. We'll be bringing to you elimination of parking requirements and also an overlay district for a portion of Chestnut Avenue. And the reason why I said, wait to see what you're having on October the 2nd, just in case you wanted to have a work session on any of those items.
Okay, repeat those the 3 items that you mentioned are all scheduled for October the 2nd right now?
October 2nd. Zoning text amendments for parking requirement elimination, parking minimums, and the overlay district for a portion of Chestnut Avenue.
Okay, I'm in favor of a working session. on the
Yeah,
18th.
For both of
definitely a
those?
work
Oh,
session
for
on
both
the
of
parking.
can I?
Go ahead.
I don't understand it. For both,
Okay,
on the 18th.
all right. That's all I have.
With that being said, the next item on the agenda is committee reports. Any? Seeing and hearing none. Any unfinished business? Any new business? A good question. What's the time schedule for completion of chambers downstairs? Do we have any idea when that's gonna happen?
That's a good question. It was supposed to happen over the summer. There has been a delay. Hopefully, we should be back in there by December, November,
Okay.
December.
Okay. Tim, you had a question?
I was just gonna say, I'll tell you offline, I know, sort
Okay.
of, have a friend that works in operations,
All right.
specifically in that building. He told me, because I
Thank-
asked the same question.
Thanks, Tim. Any other new business? I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your help. Lynn, always thank you.